Welcome to the Downer Difference, the podcast where we explore the stories and the people behind Downer's success. Through our discussions, we'll uncover how our high-performance culture drives outcomes, how we deliver for our customers, and support each other to enable communities to thrive. My name is Mary Donohoe, and I'm here in the studio with my co-host, Hélène Turi.
The title of our episode today is CEO Culture Champion, and we'll welcome Michael Franks, Defense Sector Lead. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Downer Difference podcast. Today in the studio, we have Michael Franks and Hélène Turi. Michael, thank you very much for joining us today. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Downer?
Yeah, sure. I've been at Downer for about 6 years now, and my role is I'm the defence sector leader within the social infrastructure business, really just focusing on defence major projects. And from a day-to-day basis, my role is about through the whole project life cycle in terms of I get involved in winning projects as well as I get involved in the delivery of projects as well. So certainly involved at the moment on the Woomera redevelopment is probably the main thing that's been keeping me busy, but certainly in the last couple of years I've been involved in the Riverina redevelopment as well as the Williamstown pavement reconstruction.
You've had quite an interesting defence career as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that too?
Yeah, so I basically started basically growing up. I was a RAF brat, so my father was in the Air Force for 25 years, and then I did engineering at uni and decided, well, hey, the job I had at a consultancy company wasn't for me, so I ended up said to my dad, I don't know what I'm going to do, and he goes, well, there you go. The Air Force was looking for civil engineers, so within a couple of months I was doing my basic training, and that was certainly for me was a fantastic experience. It set me up as a sort of professional doing what we're doing, because one thing about the military, it really tests you and puts you outside your comfort zone as a person, which I don't think many people actually do that, and you don't really know what your potential is as a human being without actually doing that. So from there I did some quite interesting things, but then it was really from a family perspective I had to leave the military because I spent 9 of my last 12 months in the military overseas. I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old at the time, so it was kind of like Air Force or family, so it was definitely pretty tough in that. So then from there I sort of moved into the consulting world, and then obviously now into the construction space.
How have you found the fit with Downer?
It's probably one of the things why I really enjoy Downer is that basically it's surrounded by good people and just smart people, nice people, and it's almost I know it's a big organisation, but certainly the group that we live in is really a family sort of group. If I sort of put it in a bit of a cliched sort of way, and we've basically got that whole sort of common goal, and I think it just makes the whole sort of team aspect and dynamic really good.
Well, thank you for that introduction, and we're very glad to have you today because this podcast is about the culture, the Downer Difference. Yeah. And back in October, I think it was, you've received the Culture Champion Award. So what was it about?
Oh, okay, yeah. So no,
were you surprised, by the way?
Oh, 100% surprised. Like I didn't realise I'd actually even been nominated, let alone had won the award. And really sort of for me it was like I said, it was a surprise, and it was really even more surprising that it wasn't even my own. It wasn't even someone from social infrastructure that nominated me. It was from someone from outside.
For another business unit?
Yeah, another business unit sort of nominated me, and that
Who was it? Who was it, Michael?
It was the roads.
The
roads and the specialist pavement sort of team with Stuart and Simon in there. So and that was really appreciative, and I think that's sort of ultimately it was a very successful project from a lot of people's point of view, and I think I was just happy to be part of that.
What role did you play exactly?
Okay, yeah. So I know Simon Abrams basically called me the defence whisperer. So effectively, it was started off as a 3-way JV between Downer Defence, the the transport infrastructure team and the road specialist pavements team, and we all had our sort of parts to play. But so my role was sort of started when we decided, okay, we were going to do that internal JV and we were going to target that project. So part of my role was really understanding what the defence and client and user requirements were, and really interpreting that and getting it into sort of the language that the Downer business can really understand. So for me, it was about, and that sort of continued through the delivery of the project as well. So defence, for everyone who hasn't been involved in defence before, is like a lot of different sort of business streams. They've got their own language. It's just full of acronyms, and it's to someone who's not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's very hard to comprehend, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So and because growing up in that sort of with my dad, as well as basically working in that space for the best part of 30 years, sort of part of the furniture, and I've got some good relationships with people within defence, and then they sort of trust me as well because I've through the years, even when it wasn't in uniform, delivering sort of projects really sort of helps build that trust.
All right. So you've been a translator, you've been a cross-business unit collaborator, and you've been a problem solver here.
Yes.
That's what I understand, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
We've been asking people what the Downer difference means to them and where they've seen it applied really well elsewhere in Downer. Have you got any examples of that?
For me, it's like if you break down the three sort of tenets of the Downer difference in terms of sort of owning the outcomes, I think that is just an integral part of leadership. So I think that's owning those outcomes is it's just a key tenet for how I view how a leader should be. And then doing it for our customer. Like at the end of the day, if we didn't have customers, then Downer wouldn't really exist as an entity. So it's about keeping them sort of happy, and then as well as putting that business development hat on. It's like, well, the best way to win a new project is to do your last project really well. And then so you get those references and recommendations, and they think, wow, Downer's a great company. We want to work with them again. And then similarly, from that whole sort of team environment, the whole sort of piece about standing for each other. And I think that was a really sort of key aspect of our project, because we had different parts of the Downer business coming together, but ultimately I think it's that whole sort of piece about standing together is what made it a real benefit for our project. And probably one of the examples that we were looking at. So the base that we were doing our project on at Williamstown in Newcastle there, it's the home of a couple of the Joint Strike Fighter squadrons, which for those that aren't aware is basically the fifth generation fighter aircraft, which when we had our noise acoustic consultants on site, they were like, wow, this thing is the noisiest thing we've ever recorded in our lives. And it's so noisy that if you stand close enough next to it when it's got its engines running, you'll get internal organ damage.
Ooh,
it's just the vibration from that sound. So through the whole planning process on the project, we had sort of negotiated with the flying squadrons. They would go on deployment, and then we would do the central portion of the runway. And then they had to change their plans, and they said, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just take off quicker and we'll fly over your heads. And we were like, from a safety sort of looking out for our people point of view, I said, well, no, we just can't accept that. We could revert to, we gave them solutions about saying, well, hey, we could revert to night works, but it's going to cost you this much extra. And ultimately it was that sort of decision about saying, well, no, this is our principles, this is safety. It's important to us that their defence was like, well, okay, you're right there. And after the meeting with that sort of tough discussion, one of the other defence stakeholders who wasn't part of the fast jet sort of squadron basically came up to me and said, well, hey, that was fantastic. No one ever says no to these guys. And I think that I think that sort of to me striking a chord with those sort of key sort of cultural principles that we're talking about is the difference for Downer.
Which is pretty special and pretty unique, I suppose. So leveraging that point, what makes a high-performance team in your eyes?
Yeah, okay. And I think, sort of thinking about that and the down to difference again, I sort of draw it back to those three key tenets of the down to difference as well. So that whole sort of piece about owning the outcomes, I sort of say, well, hey, from a high-performing team, that's about accountability, and it's about everybody working on the project, no matter how big, small, or how important they think their role is. They need to be accountable for their actions and the outcomes, and then also holding people to account as well. So some things may go well, some things may not, but ultimately I think for your high performers on the team, probably one of the most demotivating things if you don't hold the people who aren't performing to account. So that's sort of in terms of
lack of fairness as well, right?
Yeah.
That's the way people could see that, I suppose.
Yeah. So that's what I think. That's in terms of that owning the outcome sort of piece. And then the other one there in terms about we're doing it for our customers. I think for reflecting back on a team point of view, I think that's important to have that as actually having a common goal. So everyone actually understanding why are we here and what are we doing, and having that sort of client understanding. I think that's a key part of the down to difference. That's what it certainly means to me. And then the last one is sort of like I touched in my example with the Joint Strike Fighter, is that basically if standing up and standing for each other and looking after each other. And I think that's just that's just critical for actually having a good culture that everyone sort of understands and sort of knows that they're valued.
As part of high performing, do you think celebrating success is important? Do you think we do it enough?
No, I don't think we do it enough. Like, celebrating success is important. Like, it basically gives everyone that pat on the back that's saying, well, what you're doing is actually making a difference and is useful and is making that sort of contribution to the company, the client, and the project. So, we really should be doing it more.
How do you like to recognise people in your team?
I think there's obviously different ways of doing it. Like I'm sure you get your HR experts getting in there saying, well, hey, there's money and there's recognition. And at the end of the day, I think recognition is definitely, I think there's many facets in sort of recognising that sort of high performance. But I think publicly sort of acknowledging that high performance is a good one. Sometimes it's small gifts like movie tickets that sort of people say, well, hey, that's great, and others it's sort of giving them better opportunities to actually sort of step up and show their wares. To show that, I think that's just a demonstration of how much you trust and value the individual.
Michael, you've worked on some high-profile, successful projects. Yep. What do you look for when you're putting together a project team?
I think diversity is key. Like, and I know there's lots of definitions of diversity. When I use that word, I say it's diversity of thought. So because everyone from different backgrounds, different experiences, and that all contributes to us as individuals. And there's no point having a team of sort of yes people that if one person says that they all agree, I think you certainly need to challenge each other, and ultimately I think that comes out with the better outcomes for the project. But obviously you do that in a respectful sort of way, and I think that's sort of key.
We've been asking all of our guests what book they'd like to recommend to our Downer listeners. Is there any particular book that stands out for you?
Considering how much I read at work, it's probably one of those sort of things where, like, I know.
Are you telling us we're sending too much emails?
Yes, but and it's sort of like you reflect on concreters with their crushed rock driveways, and because part of my job is I do a lot of reading. I don't tend to read a lot, but one book that I read probably 20 years ago now that really sort of stuck with me, and it was just one of those books that you just pick up and I couldn't put down, was The Happiest Refugee by Arne Doe. And for those who aren't familiar with Arne, he's I think he's on the ABC with doing his painting Brush with Fame, and then I think he originally came to public sort of prominence as a comedian, but reading the book, it sort of goes back to how his family. He was just a young boy when his family escaped Vietnam on a boat. As one of the original sort of boat people, refugees to Australia, and then and I really what sort of resonated with me with that book was just really the resilience of him and his whole family group. But then also other sort of aspects in there as well about how thankful they were for even little things, like when they finally made it to Australia. One of the first things they got was a couple of sort of rubbish bags full of donated clothes from the salvos, and then his mum was like, "Wow, what a wonderful country this is," but the people were just willing to give you things like that. So it's just like, for a lot of people that wouldn't mean much, but yeah, it's just how thankful they were. And then ultimately you look at what that sort of family has done as a contribution to Australia as well. Like his aunt's brother, who many people wouldn't know, but he won Young Australian of the Year at one point in his life, but basically for his sort of contribution back to the migrant community. So yeah, I think it's just for that. It's just sort of for me, sort of from a personal point of view, just sit back and reflect on how lucky I am, and sort of these people had nothing, but how happy and sort of appreciative of what they did get. So yeah, that's why it sort of stuck and resonated with me.
The power of mindset, I guess, but also how this contributes to the community and the progress of society.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely read that book.
Yeah.
You've had very varied career from hearing you earlier. If there is something that you haven't tried and would like to give it a go, what would that be?
So that's a tough one. Like I look at potentially converting one of my sort of hobbies or loves, and I know middle-aged men, there's the so-called holy trinity of things, which I see as having an immaculate lawn, smoking meat, or playing golf. So
I thought you were going to say cycling.
Cooking. We had cooking earlier.
Yeah, so yeah, I've been through that sort of mammal sort of stage, and
Okay.
at least I've sort of graduated to golf off the back of that. So if I was really sort of dreaming and pushing the boundaries, I would probably say something in related to golf or cooking. But also then I also look at myself as a person, and one of the things I really enjoy is I enjoy being good at things. And I can't say I'm good at golf. I enjoy it, but I'm not good at it. And then I look at what things I'm good at, and I think I like to think I'm good at my job, and all of those sort of experiences I've had through the years, I think is really led me to doing what I do, and like one of the reasons I like to stay involved in projects is
The passion, right?
Yeah,
Your
I just
passion.
find it really interesting, and then we've got a really great team, so I'd probably go for what some would see as the corporate answer, and I say, well, I'll just do my own job, the job I currently do.
Okay, great. Well, if you change your mind in regards to golf, you could come to New Zealand, because Lydia Ko is actually a Paris Olympic champion for golf. So
Yes.
maybe you could meet with her and take some lessons. Who
Yeah,
knows?
I think she's won a medal at the last 3 Olympics, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. She's incredible,
Yeah.
actually. Right. Last question from me. What are you the most proud of achieving in the last 12 months?
Yeah.
Let's make it easy, 12 months.
Yes. Yeah, I would have to say it is probably the Williamstown project. Like, it was, like I said, it was it's a contribution of many different people within the Downer organisation, as well as the defence as well. And then certainly it wasn't all smooth sailing. There's a lot of challenges, tough conversations, and then ultimately through that sort of adversity, we came through with some pretty successful outcomes. I know internally within Downer, everyone's happy with the outcomes that the project team has sort of brought about. But then also, I've had recent sort of discussions with the defence stakeholders. So the Air Commodore that sort of manages all the projects we do from a defence major projects point of view, he said, wow, it was fantastic. It's the only successful project we've done under that contract form. And he said, yeah, no, it's just a credit to the Downer team.
So cross-collaboration and common goals.
Yeah.
Those are my takeaway for today.
Yeah.
Well, for those that are listening, the Williamstown project, that was the redevelopment of the barracks, is that right?
No, it was the reconstruction of the runway. So it was
okay, sorry.
Yeah,
which you did talk about earlier.
Yeah.
But was there a redevelopment of barracks?
Yeah, so that was Riverina.
Oh, that's what you're working on currently.
Yeah, and Woomera as well.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, whereas the Williamstown one was a full depth asphalt repair of the runway, as well as upgrading drainage, as well as putting in aircraft arresting systems.
Tell us about your song, Michael. What did you pick?
Looking at a song choice, I was able to reflect through my. I don't know for those that sort of subscribe to Spotify. Spotify at the end of every calendar year gives you a year in review, and of the 21,560 minutes that I listened to Spotify over the last 12 months, I think about 50% was podcasts.
Okay.
I did have 1 month there where I had Robbie Williams on repeat.
Right.
But probably
Which song?
It was really
A mix?
It was a mix. It wasn't Angels, it wasn't Rock DJ. But then probably if I was to pick a song or a genre, Triple J do a almost like an unplugged sort of version where they basically just get random artists in and they choose random songs, and then some really alternate indie type bands singing Britney songs or
Taylor.
I think the Brit group did a Cher song, I believe. So it's if I was to pick something, it'd be in that sort of realm.
Well, what podcasts were you listening to?
They were generally golf podcasts.
Okay. So. Here we are again.
but obviously in the future the Downer podcast.
I was going to add, that was my next question.
Yeah.
Would you listen to this podcast?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, good. Michael, thank you very much for joining Helene and I in the podcast studio today, and thank you for sharing your insights too.
No, thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to The Downer Difference on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and be sure to share it with your colleagues.